and welcome to another Seed World Giant Views interview. My name is Alex Martin, and I am the editor of Seed World. And today I am so happy to be hosting Colin Steen, who is CEO of Legacy Agri-Partners, but also he has another hat that he's putting on this week. He was second vice president of IPSA, and this week he is moving up to first vice president of the Independent Professional Seed Association, which is just so exciting to hear, Colin. So we are in Tucson at the Independent Professional Seed Association's annual conference, and we'll be here all week. But in the meantime, Colin, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thank you, Alex.
And I figured we could start with some easy questions to get our interview kicked off here. Let's start with some introductions. Tell me a little bit about yourself, why you got involved with IPSA, and what we need to know about you.
Yeah, no, thanks. So just a little bit about myself. First off, I've been involved in agriculture my entire life. I grew up on a grain and cattle farm in a small little town in northern Saskatchewan, Weldon, Saskatchewan. Got a college degree in agriculture. Started right out of school working for Syngenta. 25 years later, made the move to Legacy Agri-Partners and to be the CEO of that group. We've got Legacy Seeds, DF Seeds, and Tri-Cal Superior Forage are all brands that are part of that Legacy Agri-Partners group, and all members of IPSA as well. So excited about that. Why I wanted to get involved with IPSA and the board is really, I've known the CEO of IPSA for a long time, someone you know well as well, Todd Martin. And, I'm always a big believer, if you want to have a say, if you want to have a voice, then you got to stick your hand up to be involved. And so I don't like it when people sit in the background and go, well, I wish they do this or wish they do that, right? So let's volunteer, let's get on the board, let's help be the voice of others that maybe don't want to take that step to be more vocal and on the board. And so I've enjoyed every minute of it this last year and a bit, and it's been a lot of fun.
That is absolutely wonderful. I like that you mentioned that if you want to have a voice in the industry, you need to get involved in it. So that is a wonderful sentiment to not only talk about in retrospect to your position at IPSA, but also if anyone wants to get joined, that's a great way to phrase it. It's that you're getting your voice out in the industry.
Exactly. Yeah. No, and there's always lots of room to help, right? You don't have to just be on the board. You can be part of our education committees, our conference committee. There's lots of ways you can pitch in and help and have your voice heard. And I think, Todd and Kat and the team at IPSA have done a great job of making those opportunities available to all the members.
Now, Colin, you kind of gave us a little bit about your background. You went from working for a rather large multinational seed company to now being the CEO of an independent company. What are some of the issues that you've seen firsthand as an independent company from that switch?
Yeah, it's it's certainly different when you don't own your own traits and germplasm, right? That is, we're lucky enough at Legacy Agri-Partners, we have an alfalfa breeding program and a triticale breeding program, but those are small crops, right? We don't have a corn and soybean breeding program, right? We don't have a wheat breeding program. So as a result, you really quickly realize, like, holy cow, my margins are a lot different than the numbers I used to see when I was working at Syngenta, and the competitiveness of that is really difficult. So we have to really, no different at any of the independent companies, right? We have to watch our cost structure very carefully because, every bag of corn seed that we sell, every bag of soybean seed that we sell, we owe a trait royalty. We owe a germplasm royalty, right? We've got to find a way to get it produced. Some of our members at IPSA have their own production capabilities. We do not at Legacy. So we have to, again, just continually manage our margin structure. And that's been, I hesitate to use the word eye-opening because I knew it would be that way, but maybe I didn't appreciate just how difficult it would be to find a way to stay ahead, right? So we have to do the best we can early. Our members tend to get out early on the farm when we're the most competitive and have the ability to compete the most with those that supply us the traits and germplasm, right?
Sure. And I know, I'm sure that is a problem that every independent company has to deal with, is those different margins. You might not make as much as the multinational because your selling points are a little bit smaller. You are a little bit more specialized, maybe is the best way to put it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and so then you take what, that's the hand we've been dealt on the cost side, but then we can deal ourselves a favorable hand when we go to market, right? We have a local presence, we have local knowledge, we have strong people that we hire. Sometimes we find them as industry veterans, sometimes we find them as people right out of school. But then we start to stack the cards back in our favor. So yes, we have a couple that go against us, but stacking those cards back in our favor from that local presence, local knowledge that's been talked about at the conference quite a bit already is really important for us.
Perfect. Now, why is independence so crucial for independent company? Why do you feel like you need to advocate so strongly for independence in the seed sector?
Yeah, no, it's an interesting thing, right? Again, there's 130, 140 independent seed companies in the U.S. that are members of IPSA and that we know that are out there, and it's really critical that these companies have a way to thrive and survive and even better yet to thrive for the long term, right? We have to, farmers don't want to just buy from the big 3 or 4, right? Those big 3 or 4 companies do a great job of providing genetics and germplasm, but they are looking for that more local relationship sometimes. They're looking to support their local community more. They're looking to, they want to see the people that they're buying the seed from at church on Sundays. That sounds cliche, right? But at the local stores and stuff. And I know for us, we wear with a ton of pride the brands that we represent in these local communities, right? Dansville, Michigan is 1,500 people. Scandinavia, Wisconsin's 275 people. Like these, we're known in those towns. All of our members have those experiences, and so for me, independence is so important in order to help set us apart from the rest of the industry, right? That we have to be able to show farmers that you can have a truly independent point of view on what you should do on your farm, right? We're not just going to represent one line of germplasm, one line of traits. We have the whole suite of traits and germplasm to offer to our customers, and so that they're able to make the best choice for what's right in their farm. If we were, if our company was owned in the background by Syngenta, we're not able to do that, right? So we pride ourselves in choice.
Yeah, it gives you a little bit more of, I feel like growers must feel like it's a little bit more neighborly to see some of their seed sellers in their areas and feel a little bit more local.
Yeah, no, I certainly believe so, right? And again, it's sort of cliche to say it. We talk about this a lot, and I know even the big companies talk about, oh, we're local. But, we truly are, right? We are investing in the community. There's members of IPSA that have been around for 4 or 5 generations. That's incredibly important, right? And that's to me what, if I'm a local farmer, I want to see somebody that's invested in this as much as I am.
Now, we kind of talked about it a little bit, but what are some of the benefits that independent companies in the industry receive? And how is that something that you're working on advocating a little bit more for as part of the IPSA board?
Yeah, no, I think the benefits they receive is that we do have choice, right? We do have the ability to find products from germplasm programs, whether they're small little programs that are still trying to get started out there, or from the big 4. So we're able to have discussions that Bayer, Syngenta, and Corteva can't have, right? Corteva is going to pick from within their breeding program. They don't go and talk to Miller hybrids in Iowa to see what they can kind of license in and fit into their program, where we have that ability. We have that ability to talk to whoever we like and to source germplasm, quite frankly, from companies around the world if we so desire. And I think that's a real benefit that we get as independents. And then I think other than, when it comes to recruitment of people, obviously we have ties to local communities, which is important to a lot of people. When they're looking for work, they want to, we heard one of the speakers this morning talk about, how to prevent turnover and on your team, and, working for a company that stands for something that you believe in, working with peers that have that same common belief is really important to all employees, not just, the younger ones. Or, it's important to have that feeling and that tie back to a community that you all stand for the same thing.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Now, you mentioned you've been on the IPSA board for about a year and a half now, going on to bigger and better things as next year, when we get together at the IPSA conference, you'll be taking over the presidency role. What's been the most rewarding part for you working with independent companies in this kind of capacity?
I had 25 years at Syngenta, so I certainly knew, and half of that career was in the seed business at Syngenta, so I certainly knew the names that I've now got to meet in person before. And I'm just so incredibly impressed by the resiliency, the stories. Every company has its own story, and just to sit down and talk with folks and understand, okay, how did it all start? Where are you now? How has it developed? How has it sort of stayed the same? What's that thread that you could pull all the way through the generations? And to me, that's just been a real rewarding part, is to get to know the members and the stories of the companies that they represent, and how important it is to their families and how important it is to the community. Farming is, farmers are our North Star as an industry here, and I'm just really impressed to be part of this group.
Yeah. And I feel like even though you might hear some similar stories from the industry, you might hear of people saying, oh, my father was a farmer, my grandfather was a farmer. They're all different. And you get some unique perspectives from people in the industry.
Absolutely. Yeah. You have geographic difference, right? You have, sometimes I always enjoy the stories where, hey, I left for 15, 20 years and now I'm back, right, to help run the family business. I never wanted anything to do with it. And now guess what? Here I am with my family and ready to take over. And I just find those stories so engaging. And I find how the generations have been managed over the years. As you talk to folks like Chris Cornelius, right, our outgoing president, and just how they have managed their kids coming into the business is just, I find incredibly engaging and interesting.
Yeah, it is. It is so fun to hear, especially because you're working through some of those dynamic pieces of working with your family, and how do you go about doing that in a appropriate way, but also have a little bit of fun with it. It's so cool to hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. And then my last question for you today, Colin, as incoming first vice president for IPSA, what is the greatest goal that you're hoping to achieve or work towards this year, maybe or beyond when you become president next year?
Yeah, it's a great question. We met about this as a small group with Chris Latham and Chris Cornelius and Todd and Kat and I back at the ASTA meeting. And I like, a little bit of it is you have to be nimble, right? So I'm not trying to kick the answer down the road here, but you have to be a little bit nimble, because something that will come up that we don't really anticipate or understand. And we're, I think that's one of the strengths of IPSA, is that it allows us, with a small board that represents a lot of members and a very well-run leadership group, that we can react quickly when something comes up. And I think this was evidenced in the last summer when the DOJ was asking for comments, and the IPSA board submitted some comments on the competitiveness in the ag industry on behalf of our members. And it was really, I think that was a watershed moment for IPSA and the IPSA board, to be honest. And I think it was really important to start to tell our story to more people than just ourselves. And that, to me, so if I have to think about what my goal is over the next year and two, is to tell that story of our opportunities, our challenges, our concerns, which there's many, to more than just the group within this room, right? Me standing at the front of the room in 2 years and talking about the challenges is preaching to the choir. We all know what our challenges are. And we know what our opportunities are, but we have to make sure that story is understood by our customers, our suppliers, our elected officials, and all of the impact that has. And so that's what I'm looking forward to, is telling our story to the broader public that needs to know.
I think that is a perfect place to end our interview, because I don't think there's a better thing to say than talking about how how we can better share our story. So
Okay.
thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Alex.
Yeah, thank
Enjoyed
you
it as
so
always.
much. And to everyone at home, we hope you enjoyed our interview with Colin. If you're hoping to see some more Giant Views interviews, make sure to stay tuned on seedworld.com. We'll have a couple of more interviews coming out this week from the Independent Professional Seed Association Conference. And until then, we hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you all soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.